Hello, Steve Arts 89. Well, I was just, listening to viewer reviewing Sinners and scrolling through the next video on YouTube, and I saw the thumbnail for Clownfish TV, who I don't subscribe to. F them with Pedro Pascal on the front in his Fantastic Four uniform, and the title was Pedro Pascal could tank Fantastic Four with his politics? Question mark. I'm like, he absolutely could. At the moment, there is no winning with politics in media. America is the culture is so tribal now, and things are so divided. If you take one side, you automatically not only alienate the other side, but they will come for you, and there's no winning. The only way to win is to be apolitical, and that's very hard to achieve because every person on either side will be trying to bait you and get you to say something to expose your politics so that you can be alienated and attacked, or sort of taken in as one of them. So you can't win. And could Pedro Pascal tank Fantastic Four with politics? Absolutely, absolutely. If he's on the red carpet and doing interviews and he's talking about his personal beliefs and so forth, you're going to alienate all the MAGAs and all the other people. And I know people say, we don't want them. They pay to see movies. They're half of the audience. The only way to manage this now is, like I said, to be apolitical, to not talk about, Trump or trans or anything. The only way to actually, survive that is to be totally apolitical, and that's very hard to do. A lot of creators have their own opinions, have their own, beliefs, and they want to, educate. They want to put their stories out there, and they want to inspire people. They want to create stories that make people think and progress society, because that's what, cinema and media and TV and the arts have always done. And now they're in a situation where they can't really do that, because if they do, they're instantly attacked and ratioed, and it goes both ways. If anyone does anything remotely conservative, they're attacked just as much. Like, it's a tribal thing. Both sides do it. Both sides pretend like they don't. And the left is a bit more hypocritical about this. They act like they're totally objective and fair, and that's only if you agree with them, because they're right, of course, and they kind of are, but they act like they don't do exactly what the right does. They're both the same on the opposite sides. Just one does happen to be right, and the other one is evil. But see, I can't do it either. But yeah. So could he tank it? Yes, because he pretty much tanked Wonder Woman with a couple of comments, and they were fairly innocent comments about how he based his villain on 80s Donald Trump. And he wasn't necessarily talking about Donald Trump now in his politics or connecting the two. He was saying he just based it on Donald Trump from the 80s, that sort of iconic sort of 80s sort of millionaire sort of stereotype. And that was all it took. Once people got it in their heads and the message got out, they made Donald Trump the villain. The villain is based on Donald Trump. It's anti-Trump, MAGA. You got to rally against Wonder Woman, and that was the end of that movie. It was done. Now, yes, it came out during the you-know-what, and it did have a couple of issues some critics didn't like. So there was some genuine criticism. There was issues with the you-know-what, because you can't talk about that anymore. That was hurting box office. Anything released after 2000, had a real struggle for a couple of years there. But a big part of it was just the MAGAs, got the campaign out that this is anti-Trump, and, they started trashing it. And before that, they loved Wonder Woman. They were all for another film. So it really shouldn't be underestimated how much damage can be done to a brand or a film just by talking about your politics. And what they really need to start doing, I know it sounds bad, but they really need to start having no politics clauses in actors' contracts. If you sign on for a film, you cannot talk about your personal politics in media, your social media, the media, anywhere, while this film is being released and promoted or filmed, because you will destroy the film. And that sounds harsh, and both ways. No MAGAs bragging about, winning, no, progressive people talking about the LGBTQ plus and trans and anti-Trump stuff and all that, because you're going to alienate people who they need to pay money to see the film or watch the show. And I think that's just the reality. They're just going to have to do that. And then, once your contract's up, once the show's out of the cinemas or whatever, or off streaming, you can talk about whatever you want. But while you're working for a show, you are the face of that show, the face of that company, and you cannot be talking about your own personal politics in this climate. In the past, you'd kind of get away with it, but because people did separate the two things. Now they don't. This isn't a divide anymore. So yeah, I just had to comment on that. Something I was just thinking earlier today, and I'm like, I should talk about that, and there just wasn't a subject. I'm like, oh, now there is. A thumbnail from Clownfish, dealing with the potential destruction of the Fantastic Four, which I think is going to struggle anyway. I don't know who thought of trying to relaunch Marvel with like a retro 60s Fantastic Four. Yeah, that doesn't seem like a sure bet for me. So I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think of the whole situation.